we'll give it a minute or two for some more people to show up, and then we'll go ahead and start. Okay, well, we were gonna wait, but our weather's getting really bad and our internet tends to blip when it does that. So we're gonna go ahead and start now. As most of you should know at this point, Arthur, Ian, and I went on a tour site today, or site of a tour. Um, we are very positive about the site we viewed today, and I have answers for pretty much every question that was asked. Um, Starting off, just so everyone is aware, elevation is going to be a little high. We're looking at between 8,400 and 8,700 feet, depending on where you are on the campsite. For food plan, there are multiple options. They have a kitchen that we can rent. They have a kitchen in one of the cabins that we can use. The site director suggested that if we wanted delivery, there are places that would cater. There are a lot of options. For Brandon specifically, when it comes to site waivers, you will be very happy to know that you will not have to collect any waivers for this site. There is one waiver that Arthur and I will have to sign, and oh no, I'm breaking up!
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of issues with the internet on account of the rain.
Yeah, I completely lost you like 5 minutes in.
Dang, okay.
Yeah, the weather just calmed down, so we might be better. Can you hear and understand me? Cool.
Okay, am I coming through double speak now? Okay, sorry about that. So, let's see. You missed a good chunk after telling us about the kitchen. Okay, so they do have a kitchen we can rent. There is a kitchen in one of the cabins that we can use to cook, and the site director has suggestions for ordering and catering if people would prefer delivery. There are a lot of options. The kitchen is set up to provide for gluten free. They do have a meal plan if we decide to go with that. There are a lot of options that we'll discuss as we get further in. For Brandon specifically, you were asking questions about the waiver. I think you will be very excited to know you will not have to collect waivers from people for this specific site. There's one waiver that is all encompassing that Arthur and I will sign. So all you will have to worry about is getting waivers for Arcanorum itself. I thought you'd like that. We have, for parking spaces, it's going to be 25 to 50 depending. There is one very large field that can either be used for LARP battles or for parking. But there are multiple places to park around the site. There are roads up to the cabins, so you can go up, park, and take out all of your stuff. The roads are actually decently gravel. There's not a lot of big rocks, it's all just nice fine gravel. For tent spaces, there are tent spaces near the cabins in the way that the site director has said you may set up your cabin wherever you would like. If you find a spot and it works for you, feel free. You. What's up?
Set up your tent wherever you please.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Set up your tent wherever you please. Sorry about that. There are extension cord setups for tents. You are allowed to run an extension cord. He just asks that we make sure they are weather safe in case it rains. RVs, trailers, and campers are welcome. There are 2 hookups for those. If you don't need a hookup, then feel free past that. We will need to bring our own cooking supplies for the kitchen in the cabin. If we use their very nice commercial kitchen, we have free access to anything in the kitchen except for their food supplies. We'll have to bring all of our own food. We are allowed to bring appliances to the kitchen that is in the cabin. If you want to bring a rice cooker or an Instant Pot or a crock pot, anything like that, he said totally fine. Which brings me to the cabins all have electricity. They have multiple outlets. Many of the beds have outlets near them. There are more outlets near beds than we have requirements for CPAP machine users. For cabins, there are 5 year-round cabins right now. He is working on getting 2 more usable. There are 6 summer cabins. There are between 12 and 20 beds per cabin. It varies by cabin type, for 163 beds total. There are 2 cabins with room for 20 people each in 2 separate wings. Both wings hold 10 people. Both of those wings have about 9 electrical outlets, and both of those wings also have 2 flushing toilets, 2 hot water showers, and 3 sinks included in the cabin. There are mirrors above the sinks. There is an outlet bar above the sinks, and it is there's a cubby area also in the bathroom. There are no showers that are not inside of a cabin or inside of a retreat center room, which I will get to shortly. There is another style of cabin that has a shower and a toilet on each side of the cabin. The retreat center rooms they're going to be more expensive. That's going to be a case-by-case basis. These are rooms that are inside of the main retreat center building. They typically have 4 beds, 1 shower, 1 toilet, and 2 sinks. This is very akin to like a 2-star hotel. It's going to be a lot more private if you opt for one of those rooms. There will be a price difference, but it would probably be a very good idea specifically for like Dan if you wanted to, with the baby. Yes, players would be able to choose to pay more for like the retreat center room. Anything past that, we're still kind of looking at options. It's really going to depend on how many people we have, is what cabins we will end up with access to. We should end up with access immediately to the two main cabins that have the showers, toilets, and sinks inside. I will say every cabin we saw has a shower, a sink, and a toilet. At least two. It's just that the two main ones we will be renting outside of NPC camp are the ones that I will post pictures of in game updates that are, they're called Black Bear and Antelope. Those are the ones with the two showers, two toilets, three sinks per wing. The cabins do have, for Antelope and Black Bear, they do have radiant heating. All of the cabins have some sort of climate control. Every cabin has electrical outlets in the bathrooms. Yes, Trace. Black Bear and Antelope both have radiant heating. They also both have fireplaces and a very nice common room before you get to the bedrooms. The bedrooms with the bunks are behind closed doors that are not part of the main area when you walk in. There's also a very nice setup for NPC camp, and they are working on refurbishing a building that Ian is very excited about for NPC camp that will have a common room, an area specifically to get ready in costume, makeup, all of that, and sleeping accommodations. Okay, scrolling down. So, someone asked about wildlife precautions. I do want to say, in talking to the site director, at some point in time, someone did see a black bear. The site director says the black bear has not been a problem outside of the occasional dumpster raid. The only other issue is that there has been a bull moose sighted, which has also not been a problem as long as you are not alone. There will be a lot of emphasis on not walking around alone. As long as you're not by yourself, the moose does not seem to care. We have multiple buildings on site that we will be able to use. They Okay, so Tom, if we find people walking around alone, we are going to have Ian send out assassin wolves because we would rather your character die than you get hurt. Yes, real continuity. Right. So tavern buildings. There are several buildings on site that we will have exclusive use of. In talking to the site director, we will have basically exclusive use of the entire campground area that is not directly the retreat center. The retreat center is kind of its own thing, but we will be off in the camping area by ourselves. We will have 24 access to any of the buildings we rent. You are able to eat in any of the buildings we rent that are not cabins without kitchens.
Here, I'll talk about the exclusivity for a second. So the way the exclusivity functionally works is there is an east half and a west half of the camp. The west half is a big modern lodge retreat center where the vast majority of their events are held. The east half is a bunch of cabins and two common areas, an activity hall and a meeting hall, a gathering hall. As part of a reservation, we'll have exclusive access to the two gathering areas on that side of the camp and exclusive access to the outdoor gathering areas on that side of camp. And so, even though we're not technically exclusively in those cabins, we're the only people who have any reason to be over there anyway. If we are sharing the event area with anyone, they'll be in the retreat center doing whatever it is they're doing out there. Might have to walk by them. If we're up near the cabins, probably not. There's not good line of sight between like the cabin area and the retreat center. There is a nice field past the retreat center we might want to use for like outdoor combats. There's a big meadow and an archery field that we might hike towards, but uh, while we're all just milling about in the cabin area, the worst we might see is people heading towards one of the hiking trails in small groups.
I will say every employee we talked today was at least semi aware of what LARPing is, and they were very excited.
Yeah, the way the site tends to work is due to the nature of who they book. They tend to insist that the people using the site, um, the people using the site don't interfere with each other. Uh, by opening ceremony, yes, we will know by opening ceremony. We might not know by 2 hours prior to opening ceremony, but we will know by the time we get there whether or not we are exclusive, like completely exclusive. Yep. He did say sometimes people can show up pretty short notice, but not that short notice.
The only other minor thing there is because it is in the middle of a national park and has a lot of hiking trails, there is the occasional person or like two or three people that will go to hike and they will have to walk through where we're at just to get to the start of the trail. But he is very he expressed a lot of anyone that comes into your area will do so with the understanding of do not linger, do not bother them, and do not touch anything you see because those belong to people as far as like props, mining camp, night prize, bloom, all of that. So for noise and field battles, they do have a quiet time of 10 p.m. if you are near the retreat center. However, we're not going to be near the retreat center. The fields that we would be using for field battles are out in the middle of nowhere. During the day is fine. During the evening, we're going to be out in the middle of nowhere. We're going to try very hard to get things done before it gets too late, but noise is not really going to be an issue. I have the site director's number. I will call him tomorrow and find out for sure.
There's a lot of trees. Probably can find a good place to put a hammock. It's it's the Colorado mountains, so it's been a little bit devastated by beetle kill. So the trees are not like as dense as you would normally expect. But availability, when we there is technically no minimum quantity of players. There's like there's more of a max depending on how many cabins we can fill them in for. So each cabin has a minimum of 10 people committed to actually stay there for it to be booked.
So
So like
for availability, oh wait, hold on. Okay, so maximum total booking for the site depends on how much people are willing to spend because the cabins currently have a maximum occupancy of up to 163 people. The retreat center, to my understanding, can hold another 124 people, and the site director is currently working on adding more beds to the campgrounds that would increase it by about 30 to 40. So unless you guys go out and start advertising like crazy, I think we're going to be fine.
yeah, especially since there's no actual restrictions on technically on where people can put their tents. If there's probably a lot of room for tents.
There's a lot. Ian and I took pictures that I will be posting after this.
Yeah, well, if anyone wants to get an eye on those, we'll post a giant pile of pictures in the games update channel above.
So they do have chairs and tables on site for us to use in any of the buildings or spacings that we reserve. Um, let's see. And I've already said we're able to eat in buildings. There are picnic tables scattered throughout the site, but there's not one dedicated space where it's like, here's 6 picnic tables. There is Wi Fi at the retreat center, but there is no actual cell service. So be aware that if you need to make contact with the outside world, you're going to have to go to the retreat center. Let's see. Is there a tobacco policy? So, tobacco is allowed. If anyone does plan to smoke, we will need to know in advance so that we can inform them and the site director can have the um, ash pots. They're like giant ashtrays. They all need to be moved to our cabin area, and they just ask that we don't smoke in, obviously, or right in front of the cabins so that it doesn't pull in the smoke smell. Some of these cabins are legitimate 100-year-old log cabins that have been refurbished. They are very nice on the inside.
Mic off. Mic feedback off. Mic on. Mic feedback on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, John. I keep getting distracted. Booking availability for 2025. I am in talks with the site director and the booking manager. So far, we should be able to book all of our usual months with the exception of June and July. Unfortunately, we were not able to get in fast enough due to the timing of us acquiring Arcanorum, so June and July is already booked up. I am going to try to reach out to JCC and see if that can be a possibility for June and July. I cannot commit to that at this time. Let's see. Mel, yes, you can eat outside of the cabins. Um, you just can't eat in cabins that don't have a kitchen. And yes, 2026, we will be looking at booking the entire season.
Vapes should be fine. I would assume if you observe the rules for a cigarette where you should smoke your vape, you'll be fine.
I can double check on vapes if you are very concerned about it. I don't have a problem reaching back out to the site director tomorrow. Let's see. Proximity to healthcare, grocery, gas, EV charging. So a 4-minute drive from the parking lot is a combination grocery and gas station. There are 2 EV charging stations on site. The nearest healthcare is going to be about a 15 to 20-minute drive, and it is through the mountain on winding roads, so just be aware of that. Let's see, what time would we need to be out by on Sunday? We have been told that we can add an extension onto our checkout that would allow us to be there until 2 p.m., so we will be doing that. Trace, from your house, it's about an hour. So, cancellation policy in case of weather, if we book within the same calendar year, there's no problem. Anything past that, the site director and I have discussed possibilities because the Colorado weather can be so bad.
In terms of cleanup, technically We will be cleaning up to a very high degree of excellence. They do a lot of their own cleaning, but we want them to love us. So we'd really like it to be very clean when we leave.
Yes, we will be the first LARP group that this site has ever had. I want them to want us to come back. Yes, let's make the best impression they have ever had.
Yes, it is basically halfway to Cheyenne. Aren't you
Although,
lucky?
I will say, the site director actually used to live in New York and had sites out there that he was directing that used to host LARP events. So this is not his first LARP event being hosted, it's just his first one at this site. Hold on, Trace. Let's see. I already said yes, we are allowed to rent the very nice indoor commercial kitchen. It does have a dish sanitizer. If for some reason we do not rent the industrial kitchen, the site director has very generously said that he will clear off shelves for us to use their walk-in refrigerator and freezer so that we are not stuck using one residential-sized refrigerator for the entirety of the LARP. He also said we can use their ice machine. He was a very nice person when we were there. We have been basically told he will go out of his way to do what he can to help us out. There are also potential talks. I cannot commit to this. This is just him saying a potential. In the future, he is looking at building a commercial kitchen on site that is not connected to the retreat center. So it would be closer to the cabin area for us to just rent. So the better impression we make, the more likely that is to happen. We are also completely fine to hang up flags around the trees, to do the mining camps, to set out night prize, bloom, all of that. Totally fine. The site director did say it is unlikely we will see anyone in our area as far as weddings are concerned in April and May, just because it's not necessarily the best temperature that high in elevation in April and May when we would be having games. Is there a good mod? Okay, so we will have access to two buildings offhand. One of them is probably too small for combat mods, but it could be used for puzzle mods. The other one is a decent size for combat mods. I really don't want to speak too much on that because that's more of an Ian thing as far as what he thinks would be appropriate. But from my judgment, I do think there are good spaces indoors for mods.
Not a ton, but a handful. The second gathering hall space might be more suitable as like a tavern space, from my personal assessment. So we might be a little short on indoor space, but not excessively so.
So at this point, I think I have hit all of the questions that we were initially asked. But if anyone has any more questions, we'll see if we have any more information. Oh, actually, there was one more thing. So there are not specific food restrictions on site. However, if we do rent their kitchen, it is a nut-free kitchen.
Also, to rent the kitchen, it's a lot easier if we all have our Colorado commercial food handling safety cert. So there might be another push for people to make sure everybody's who wants that can have it.
He did say if you want to bring pistachios or whatever, you can have them on site. You just cannot bring them into the kitchen.
We're not quite ready to go for like a hard price point because we're still trying to figure out like what we want to charge and how. But I would not expect an excessive increase. Actually, I wouldn't expect much of an increase in ticket price. It should stay relatively close to what everyone is used to. Like this is not a site where we have to charge $250 per head.
Oh,
Kind
no,
of
not
stuff.
at all. Yes, used to from JCC.
Yeah. My guesstimating of like financials says no one should experience any substantial sticker shock. Unless you want to stay in a private room in their retreat center, then that'll probably be a non-insignificant cost, but that's optional. Yeah, we just need to make sure the price is nailed down. And we can figure out we have to do some forecasting to see what we'll actually need. Because it'll like just to be perfectly frank, it'll be a little shaky in the first year because we'll have to manage a lot of the monetary stuff without an initial base to start from. But it should stabilize the further in we go.
Yes,
Yes.
that is still the plan. We do want to keep dedicated NPCs and plot attending free because we understand that is very important to the community. Also, for the sake of saying it, NPCs are getting the cabin with the kitchen, just so everyone is aware. Um, we have talked with Ian and we have decided that that is a really good perk for being a full time NPC.
Yeah, actually, there's a pair of cabins right next to each other. One's got the kitchen, one's got a very nice like hangout space that are very promising in terms of being used for like NPC accommodations, like couches, open area, that kind of thing. Also, still has bathrooms and showers,
Yeah, every cabin has a shower, a toilet, and a sink. At least two.
bare minimum. Like that's the rustic 100-year-old log cabins have a shower and a flushing toilet with hot water.
Okay, I'm glad you're on board with it, Brandon. So Trace kept asking, what's the downside? When's the shoe gonna fall? What's going on? I'm gonna be honest. I don't really see a lot of downsides to this camp. Um, I mean, there are the short little quibbles of like, hey, we got to be quiet in the actual campground area at 10 o'clock, but, don't go up to the director's house and scream.
Yeah, the kind of the negatives are there is quiet time. 10 to 10:30 is about when that starts. There are some neighbors nearby, uh, people in residential houses. Uh, let's see.
The evil moose, fair
So
enough.
so in the new cabins, the toilets are there's two toilets separated by a stalled, kind of like a commercial restroom. The Honestly, it kind of reminds me of a college dorm bathroom, frankly. So separated toilets with privacy, showers with privacy, um, and then the single unit bathrooms in the rustic cabins are one closing door, and inside that single occupancy restroom is a toilet and a shower and a sink. Oh yeah, and there's a moose and maybe a bear. Like really, the downside is that you might have to make eye contact with people who are not in our group. That's really the big downside. But as we increase in size, the chance of that actually becomes uh, smaller and smaller.
So, okay. If the bathrooms in your cabin are full, there are toilets in the retreat center. The only showers are the ones that are in your cabins.
Yeah, so there is no communal bathhouse and no communal shower house. Rustic cabin, 15 beds, one shower, one toilet. New cabin, four toilets, four showers, 20
No,
people.
the rustic cabin has two of each.
Oh, does it? Oh, I
Yes.
must have. Oh, I thought that was the same bathroom. I didn't know it was two
Nope,
different
two
bathrooms.
different ones.
They're a little labyrinthine.
Yeah, so a lot of the cabins are split into separate rooms. So instead of having like all 5 or 6 bunks in the same area, there's like 3 bunks in this room and 3 bunks in this room. I mean, I guess one downside is if you get carsick easily, you might want to consider carpooling with someone so you can take Dramamine on the drive up, because it does go through the mountain and it's kind of winding to get there. I guess if that's a problem you encounter, you might consider it.
To get from the center of Denver. Yeah, let me check real quick. Yeah, like an hour and a half. It took us 2 hours to get there from near Parker. It'll be a fair bit of a haul for people on the Springs, but I think that's unavoidable.
I will say there's a perk when it comes to cleaning up the campsite on Sundays. The site director has very generously offered to let us keep NPC camp on site. And that means that when we're going to pack it up, there is not an explicit, hey, you gotta be gone now.
Oh, an interesting other note that I care about a lot is the director is actually fully willing to let us leave the trailer on site as well,
Yeah.
so we don't have to haul it around all over the place all the time. I probably won't leave it there over the winter because so no food in the cabins without the kitchens. So yeah, so there's no
I
food in the cabin for PCs really.
Yeah, I will double check with the site director about drinks for diabetics. Yeah, we'll still need to pack up Monster Camp into the trailer, but we will have a longer amount of time to do it because we are not expected to leave by like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I still would prefer the trailer be movable, so I wouldn't go so far as to let him like say, "Hey, we can build a shed up here." It is really okay. So in terms of
Yes, thank you, John. Definitely click the link. There's a virtual tour on there that you can kind of see how well it is.
yeah, so it's on the side of it's on a mountainside, kind of cleft between two peaks, and so it's reasonably hilly, not excessively so, but with a lot of like hidey holes and a pretty good amount of trees. We don't exactly know when we can show up. We have to work that out with the contracts team, but we know for sure that we will we will need to be out by 2 o'clock on Sunday. Shaler.
Well, we have to be out of the cabins by 2 o'clock on Sunday.
Oh yeah, if we're just in the parking lot, no one cares.
Yeah, if we're still gathering stuff, which we shouldn't be by then, we should be done. But if for some reason we're still having to gather props and things after 2 p.m., totally fine. We just have to be out of the cabins by 2 p.m.
They want to be able to get inside to clean up for any potential next group coming along. And if there is no next group, they actually don't care. Now, we did mention that, obliquely, that staff might want to be there in the, you know, early afternoon, and most people would probably show up in the early evening. Oh, yeah, let me roll back up to that. We're sold, personally. My plan is to make sure everything's good and well handled, and then lock in dates. I see no, even if there is some catastrophic like weakness in this camp, we feel it is good enough to LARP in, and is actually even if with some catastrophic weaknesses, it is probably still nicer than any other site we've ever been to. We'll poll the community, but I wouldn't expect too much flexibility for 2025 because we're a little bit late on the uptake for booking for 2025 in September of 24. So we'll take what we can get on 25. Yeah, and hopefully we will make it out to a game of Alliance when they're not so busy trying to get Arcanorm back to being alive.
Yeah, we were actually talking about coming and checking out Alliance, and then this happened. So we've been kind of busy. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we're going to try to work with the group as well, to see if we can be a little bit more flexible in our 26 bookings, especially to see if we can get June, July for 26 locked in. Yep, we are very happy with it.
Oh, okay. So I'm going through my list. I did run across a couple of questions I haven't answered yet. In the Antelope and Black Bear cabins, which are the ones with more sinks, toilets, and showers, there are dedicated cubbies. There are also closets, and there is a sink in the main room. For the other cabins, there are pull out wooden bins underneath all of the bunks, and there are also some dedicated areas in those cabins for more storage space. Thank you. I'm very proud of finding this site.
So generally, the way the booking is going to work is we will talk to the director, indicate our interest to lock down the sites, and then it's not clear how far in advance we would get the contract to sign. Once we get the contract, we have 60 days to sign, return, and pay. Minimum payment is 50% of the minimum expected occupancy. So, like if we say our minimum is 50 people, which might be a good one because then we can get 5 cabins and float up to like 70 to 80 to 90. We would pay half of the fee for that 50 people. So basically, we pay and this is a per head situation in terms of booking. So basically, we would pay for half the total minimum people we expect to get. So as kind of an upfront fee.
Just in case anyone's curious, there is no penalty if more people show up than what we expect to have. Um, I just let the site director know as soon as possible, hey, we're actually going to have 60 people instead of 50, and he will get us another cabin.
When we get the site fee opened up, we will open up pre-reg, but um, getting the site is not going to be contingent on enough people pre-regging. I would still really like you to pre-reg when we open it up, but frankly, and have the financial flexibility to book the minimum site fee with 0 pre-reg.
Just to expand a little on Nathan's original question, I am in talks with the booking manager of the site. We will be going over dates shortly, and then I will start polling to see what availability the majority of the community has, and then we'll go from there.
Yep. As soon as we have a date locked in, we will be opening up pre-reg for that date. So I don't want personally, I don't want to do a big fundraiser right now. I feel like the last big fundraiser for Arcanorm was too recent, and I feel like it would be a little bit uh, gauche to do another one this recently. I don't want to ask that much of the community that soon.
Yes, we are looking at April of next year for the next game.
Yeah, we have dates currently. We are looking at for uh, April, May, August, September, October for this specific site, and then we'll see if we can figure out something for June or July, or maybe we only have 5 games this year. We'll see what we can do. If we do June and July, we'll have to find an alternate site.
Now, remember, we do have the event at the Winter Halters coming up here this coming week, next week, the 14th, the 17th. What is that day? I don't know. It's in the events. It's the 14th. And then we're looking at doing a community service day for SP. And we may potentially do one more day event or meetup at some point this year. That is to be determined. But for full weekend event games, we are targeting April.
Yeah, and just for anybody who hadn't been here for the last one, the community day that we're talking about, the community service day, would be for hauling people out to my home, where the monster camp trailer will be, and kind of pulling it, unpacking it, cleaning up everything in there, doing some much needed maintenance on the trailer, and then repacking it all up and nice.
Our home comrade.
Fair point. We also should have a big announcement on the 14th as well.
Yes, yes, please come to the event on the 14th.
So we still intend to run the intended number of games. Basically, just instead of the game running from like 2023 to like 2028, it'll probably run until 29 or 2030, depending on how many games we get. We intend to still run the number of games required to meet the story that Ian has sketched out. So it's not, the lifespan of the game is not being cut short because of the hiatus this year.
Mic off. Mic feedback off. Mic on. Mic feedback on.
Yeah, that is going to be an Ian question. Um, we have tried not to pick his brain too much about plot right now, just because he's still assembling his plot team. But I suspect we will have an answer to that relatively soon.
Well, we definitely want to clean up the trailer. Um, the best thing you can do for me personally is when I open pre-reg and pay. Oh, yes, and help us fill staff positions. I think we still need, if I go to the announcement page, uh, we will open up pre-reg when we have the dates locked in. This may be extraordinarily well in advance of the game. In terms of staff positions, just to kind of hit it back up, we have currently open positions on major staff for logistics material staff, an NPC monster manager. Uh, I believe we still need at least one player rep, safety marshal, rules marshal, anybody who wants to be an armor marshal, website coordinator, survey coordinator, and a wiki admin, I believe. People PM say me about that though, so I'm not 100% read in on if we have filled any of those positions yet.
Nope, still looking for him.
If anyone has any questions about what those particular staff positions actually entail, I can always answer them here as well. mean, probably the same thing you were doing before if you wanted to go back to it. The care and feeding, occasional updating. I'm not 100% clear how active of a site that wiki is personally, so I don't know if it just needs occasional dusting or if you're actually generating new content for it. So it sounds like it really just needs some dusting occasionally. So it's a pretty minor position. And then maybe Plot add stuff to it occasionally.
Minor in terms of effort, not valuable.
Fair. Will not consume your entire life.
Yeah, that's mostly going to be a hey, why did this link break for no reason after 6 months?
So we're still trying to figure out what's going on the website. Certificates have expired. They're all still technically there if you click through, but we need to figure out what's going on with the website. If you violate your computer's warning that you shouldn't go to the Arcanorum website, it still works and all the content's still there. It just needs some love.
Eric is currently on a business trip. He doesn't get back till Wednesday, and we'll need to get the host information from him so we can get those certificates renewed.
So we're kind of rolling towards the end of our time slot for this. Any final questions or go backs from anyone?
I do recommend that you stick around for a couple of minutes just in the Discord itself after the town hall, because I will be uploading a lot of pictures from the site. The virtual
Yeah.
tour is nice, but it doesn't necessarily have the best angles, and it's missing a few pictures that Ian and I considered kind of crucial.
Yep. And we'll stick around in chat to answer any questions anyone has about pictures.
I don't think so. Right? No other buildings.
Mm-mm.
No other buildings unless we specifically rent them. Most of the other like large area is in the retreat center, which
That is the gathering place. We do have access to that 24/7. And then the big long building is the activity center, which we will have. There
no.
are a couple of buildings that are on the virtual tour that have actually been taken down. None of the cabins, but I think there was one that was like some sort of craft center outdoor. And it looks like that one has actually been pulled down because they are building new things.
If we end up feeling like we need a little bit more covered space, we can always try to figure something out in the future. Maybe pop up pavilions or something.
The site director has also brought to our attention that he's going to be refurbishing one of the older cabins that has not been in use since before he took over the site. So we will continue to have nicer cabins the longer we are there. We are also very excited. So we'll probably start to wind down. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to put them in the question and answer forum. Like Arthur said, we'll stick around for a little bit and answer any more questions you might have, or note them so that I can ask the site director when I call him tomorrow.
Oh, if you have questions about pictures, just for the sake of my sanity, like repost the picture you have the question about with your question, or I'll never know what you're talking about.
Yes, if you have questions about the pictures, post those in the question and answer also so we don't completely clog up the general chat.
All right. It's 2 past 8. You are all released. If you'd like to go, we'll stick around. Samuel will probably post pictures.
Thank you all for attending.
Yep, thank you very much for your time.